Hello everybody, welcome to Emily Kate Made This. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my knitting / sometimes sewing YouTube channel, and welcome to a very noisy Berlin. I will apologise straight away that we have construction right outside my window. I won't darling, but I could throw Cyril out of this window and it would hit the construction site. So it will be loud. But they do have a lot of cigarette breaks during the day, so hopefully there'll be a nice quiet moment. But if I sit on the other side of the building, you'll get the road and trams. So let's just go with the building. They have just started, like 3 days ago or something, to dig up the essentially back garden. We're in an apartment block, but they did sell this place saying it will be a nice space for everyone in the neighborhood and there'll be trees. They didn't mention that actually they're going to build a multi-story car park right there. But hey ho, that is not what this channel is about. Let us begin. I thought that I might actually start with some life chat. I know a lot of people prefer that at the end of a video, but for me personally, if I meet up with a friend, I want to see how they are, what they've been up to, and then get into the nitty-gritty of stuff. And seeing as a lot of what I want to talk about is related to what I have just been doing, it makes sense to me to talk about it up front. If you're not interested, then use the timestamps and you can skip forward, and then if you want, you can come back. But I feel like you probably want to know, if you're here, you probably want to know what I've been up to. So let us begin. My mum came over on the 3rd of March to celebrate my birthday, which was on the 6th of March. And yes, that is what she did. And we had a wonderful time. She came over, she bought me my new friend. This is Cyril, everybody. Cyril is my new doorstep cat. He's full of lentils, so hopefully he's heavy enough to hold open my doors. If I open this window and my husband opens the window over there, all the doors slam shut. So I am hoping this will help. I shouldn't call you this. You, my love, will help to keep the doors from slamming. He's super cute. I will link the pattern below because it's a Ravelry pattern. My mum did make me Beryl. Beryl's a cat that is laying horizontal. She made me him 2 years ago, I think. During lockdown, actually, because he got lost in the post for 6 months and my mum was gutted. But he did eventually turn up. So he does have a friend. So that is Cyril, everybody. Where shall I put you, my love? I'll put you behind me. And my mum also bought something else delightful. She brought me, for my birthday of course, some hand knitted socks. Isn't this yarn sensational? It's marvellous. We went to Yak in Brighton and she purchased this yarn. And she made herself some socks and then discovered there's enough left over, just about enough for me to have some shorties. So that is what she did. Thank you, Mum. They have been well worn. I just took them off and washed them yesterday so that I could show you and not show you like a 7-day-old worn pair of socks. Now, what else? We went to, of course, Wollen Berlin in wedding. And don't know why I'm saying it quite so strangely. We went to Wollen Berlin and it's a lovely shop over in the west of Berlin. I live over far in the east, and so it takes quite a while to get there, but we did, and we did very well. I did very well, my mother did very well. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. Well, it got a bit stressful later, but you'll find out about that in mere moments. So, when we got there, my plan was I don't need to buy anything. If I do, I'd get some Mondim yarn that's cream. So it could go as a base colour for this, that and the other. Well, what is now in fashion? My absolute favourite colour. Yes, as you can see, I'm a very big fan of this colour. It's kind of, I would call it green, but lots of people call it like teal and blue. Some people call it blue, and that there are a lot of times I watch a YouTube and people say that something is blue and I'm like, it's obviously green. But to me, this is most definitely green. And I know it's not the same colour, especially in this light, but definitely not. But this is one of my favourite colours and one of my favourite items. Barrel wear is a thing, especially in the UK. 1940s, 1950s, teapots, like there are whole collections. There are people all over the world. Let's just say more like England. Narrow it down a bit. It's massively popular in the UK and I love barrel wear. As does my mother. And anytime I see a colour that has like this vintagey green which looks absolutely nothing like it these are completely separate things, but let's just say it's my favourite colour. Calm down, Emily. I am overexcited with yarn and teapots. Basically, if I see a green, I love it. And as my friend Pauline would say, or would know, everything should be green. If she ever asks me, what colour should I make this in? Green. Green. Always green. So, Mondim had this green and oh my gosh, it is stunning. And then they also had this pink, which is just like, oh, I feel like a very British woman in her rose garden when I see this colour. I don't know why, but this just, oh, sings to me, calls to me. So they naturally had to come home with me. And I thought this colour just, there is another teapot, another range. There's beryl wear and there's also jasmine wear, and this looks like jasmine wear and it's just like teapot heaven in a rose garden, and it makes me so happy. I have a jumper in mind. I'll try and put a picture. I think it's such a beautiful jumper. I only have one ball of these, they're 100 grams, and 2 of these 50 grams. I'm just assuming it's going to be enough. You know me, just wing it, see what happens. That is what's happening. It's not going to be cast on yet. I have other things, as you will see, but that is the life plan for these. And then something marvellous happened. My mum brought over a magazine, a British magazine, and it had John Arden yarn advertised, and I was telling her how I've always wanted to try out their, get in the basket, always wanted to try out some of their other yarns. Tried one, I'm pretty sure it was called Devonia, and it was lovely, and I made my Humblebee shawl, but I haven't tried any others. And then we came across their sock yarn. I heard about this yarn when I very first came across Orchid's Heart here on YouTube, and she raved about it, but I never ever saw this yarn, and now I have. And the colours are so beautiful. I don't know that you'll see them properly. I am sitting in a dark room, pressed up against the window, but hopefully the light will work. Aren't they sensational colours? I can't even, like, words do not describe how beautiful these colours are. And look how well it goes. So obviously I have a theme, a very spring-like theme. I only bought one skein of each except the yellow because I wanted to make a pair of socks. These I'm hoping to mix with a cream base and make a spring coloured bunny ear or rainbow jumper, not sure what. Oh, there's a whole lot load of men all standing right outside the window looking at me. Ah, it's that day again. Let's just ignore them. All the building site men have got out of their machine and walked and stood right outside my window. Anywho, that is the plan for these. A bunny ear or a rainbow, because I am obsessed with slip stitch vintage knitting patterns. Speaking of vintage knitting, we have a make-along going. I talked about it in my last episode and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in the one before, but I am running a little make-along. It's called Vintage MAL 2024. I'll put a hashtag here. I originally started it to I originally started this hashtag so that we could all tag our projects, whether they are works in progress or finished objects that are vintage, anytime from around like 1930s to 1960s, I think, or 1920s to 1960s. Knitting, sewing, crochet, whatever you wish. And I wanted it to be a way that we could see each other's makes and cheer each other on, basically, because a lot of people get overwhelmed, understandably, by vintage knitting and vintage patterns because they're different to modern. A lot of modern day patterns will hold your hand, they'll give you guidelines on how to change your size. Vintage knitting patterns are more like, this is the pattern, that's the yarn, you can only use that yarn, and bye, good luck. You have to do your own calculations if you want to change anything, and our yarn is very different to what it used to be, so basically you're going to need to change the pattern somehow, most likely. And it's just nice to have some moral support. Unfortunately, Instagram has recently changed and it doesn't show all posts, it only shows top posts or top recent posts, which makes absolutely no sense because it only showed 6 posts for about 2 weeks, even though there were 9, and there was space for 9, but it only showed 6. It's very frustrating. So I have also opened up a thread on Ravelry if you want to add your post to that, and then more of us can see it if we're on Ravelry. I am not very good at using Ravelry, but I'm going to try really hard to make sure that I check it and I reply and I use it properly. But if you're on Instagram and you do use the hashtag, it may or may not show up and I won't get any notification about it unless you at me, like tag me in it. And then I can share it in my stories and I can also then share it in my highlights so that it will stay there for eternity and anyone else can go back and check. And then hopefully we can meet more fellow-minded people, because I've met lots of lovely new people because of the hashtag that I didn't know existed, because if you follow me on here, and I might not necessarily know who you are on Instagram, but now I do. And it's really nice to meet new people, and I know from a couple of others that they've met new people via this. So thank you very much for contributing your photos and your makes. It's really nice. So please add your hashtag and go to my Ravelry if you want to do it on there. A couple of you have mentioned a Discord group. I have been kicked out of Discord twice now for not using it. It's so overwhelmingly confusing to me. Evidently, I'm not a technology person because I don't understand it. But if a bunch of you really want a Discord group, let me know and I will see if I can get my brain around it. Because if like 4 of you want it and no one else is interested, I can wait until there are more people interested and then we can build on it. So yes, they are my lovely purchases. They are my plans, my vintage plans for those lovely purchases. And that is my make-along. It's not a prize-winning make-along, it's just a fun make-along to join us together and find each other and help each other on our makes. On our makes? With our makes. Ah, nothing like being watched, hey? So another little fun thing my mum bought me for my birthday is this very cute bag. Let me just take out the contents. I'm balancing precariously. She bought me this cute bag. It's like a sock project bag. Very similar to a bag I made for myself when I went to Italy. It's covered in gnomes, and you'll know I love gnomes. And it is housing my new, my new slipper pattern. Not my pattern. Let's start that again. My new slipper project. My mum and I made some slippers together last year, and she wanted some help to cast it on. It is this pattern, the Juliette pattern, that I am making, and we were making the Arctic Starflower. I always get this wrong, sunflower, starflower. Arctic Starflower slippers last year, and the cast on was very confusing for her, so I was showing her how to do it, and she cast on the first slipper and finished that, but she brought over the second slipper to have help with the cast on again, so I figured that was a good time to cast on my slipper because it's the same cast on, because it's the same design on. There is nothing to show you. It is that far along. It is the heel of a slipper. Considering how little there is on there, it took quite a while to get that far. I stopped because I got very confused by the pattern, because the pattern says everywhere in writing the main colour is red, contrast colour is white, and then in the chart on the pattern it says make sure your increases are all done in the main colour, and the little chart that goes next to the chart, what is it called? The key that goes next to the chart says contrast colour is red, main colour is white, which completely threw me because absolutely everywhere it says the main colour is red, and then in the chart it says the main colour is white. So I had no idea what colour to do the contrast, no idea what colour to do the increases in. I'm going to just go with red and hope that it looks fine. So I haven't got far because of that, but I will make some progress on it, I hope. This yarn is the recommended yarn for the pattern, which is Rauma 3 thread, can't speak Norwegian, 3-ply I assume. It's not the normal finool, it's a thicker one. It's 108 meters per 50 grams. I am sweating. It is 23 degrees in this room. It's amazing how hot this apartment gets, and there's not even any heating on. Speaking of overheating, I was going to take my jumper off, but I haven't even talked about it. This jumper is my very first ever jumper. I knit this in 2020. I can't get any further back. I made a top, which I've shown you a few times, a leaf top, and then this was my second ever garment and my first ever jumper. It was completely knitted flat. It was 2 squares, I suppose squares, probably rectangles, I don't know. And the arms were also knitted as 2 squares, I assumed. I can't tell. I don't know. Pretty sure it was all knitted flat. And it's made in We Are Knitters Pima cotton, because that was what the pattern recommended, and I just did that because I didn't know anything other than that. It's really nice. I haven't worn it a huge amount because I never knew when to wear a cotton jumper when I would just wear a t-shirt or a knitted jumper, but I'm recently bringing it out. I think because I'm appreciating actually how much work went into this, because lace used to be my favourite thing and now it kind of overwhelms me and I'd rather do colour work. And so now I'm so aware of how much work went into this and concentration that it deserves to be back out in the world. So it is, and I'm wearing it. Oh, I'm so hot, but I can't open the window because of the construction. Another present my mum bought me, very apt, vintage knitting. It's a fun book, 18 patterns from the 1940s by Lisa Hollinghurst. And she found it in a not a thrift store, like an antique market in England. And it's very fun. It's, how would you explain it? I have read through it, but I haven't read through it again. But I'm pretty sure that this is based on a book from 1941, which is when the clothing rations came out in the UK, and it's a guide on basically how to mend your clothes, how to make the fabric go further, and make wool go further, like making a jumper in different colours. Tells you that you could do your cuffs in scraps, how you could use scraps to do Fair Isle, or how to do it for children. And there's some really fun ideas. One thing in this magazine, actually there are two things. First of all, I had no idea that the US doesn't have size 3mm needles. There's a needle guide here that helps you convert the UK imperial needles, because they are what are listed in a vintage knitting pattern. Then you have metric, then you have the US. And the US don't have 2.5 and 3mm needles? Is that true? Do you not? I don't know how I would live without those needles. They're like my bread and butter needles. And also UK Imperial, they work like the same numbers but basically backwards. A US 0 is a UK Imperial 14 or a 2mm needle. The UK did not have 2.5mm or 3.5mm. It is that I use 2.25, 2.5, 3 and 3.25 the most, and 3.5 depending. The idea that I wouldn't have those needles is horrible. Thank you, metric system. But the other thing that was really interesting was it was talking about how to use like every single scrap, every single thing that you have that you would usually throw away, and how to reuse it. And if I can find it, is it here? I'll see how much I can remember. Basically said, even if your father has a jumper that he wears only for gardening and it's on its last legs and it's just about to be thrown out, do not throw it away, because you can unravel what you can and use the little bits to add to your baby projects or kids or Fair Isle. And then any section, like the armpits, if they're very felted, you could actually cut them out and turn them into mitts or a baby bonnet. And I thought, that's so clever. I almost want to try this, but I definitely do not want to felt anything in order for me to have to try it. But it's a good food for thought, that if I have anything that's felted, or I find anything, or somebody goes to throw away a jumper and I'm like, no, I will take that, and try out some additional things with them. I mean, the idea of putting your father's sweaty armpit, felted sweaty armpit thing on your face, it's kind of gross, but it's wool, it's self-cleaning, so who cares? And you can also embroider things onto it, because it's such a thick, sturdy fabric at that point. Yeah, it was a very interesting read, and I will read this again. It has some patterns, some underwear patterns. I mean, come on, yes, please. I would love to try knitting some full-on undergarments, but the patience is lacking. It's all in 2-ply, and that seems like a lot of knitting. Hopefully that worked. But yeah, that was a fun read, so thank you again, Mother. I am already at half an hour. Goodness me, we haven't even got to the actual knitting yet. What else did I want to say? I tried to write a list. I tried to be all technological and use my tablet and record myself saying what I wanted to say, but it did not understand any of the words. I would say Wollen Berlin and it would change it to various things. It was not that. I tried to say some socks and it changed it to Xbox. Oh yes, my earrings. I am channeling Finnish Knitting Stories, Jana from Finnish Knitting Stories, because I saw that she had these glorious earrings at Christmas, and I messaged her because I couldn't stop thinking about these earrings, and she said that they're really good quality and that she's got several, and I thought, but look, it's got blue and white china, which is my favourite, and it has a cinnamon bun, and I mean, come on, you can't get more me than this. So my husband purchased them for my birthday and they're here, so I'm a happy lady. They're so cute and I'm feeling very Jana-esque right now. You've met Cyril. We talked about the yarn. I went to IKEA, had a little Swedish moment. That was fun. Got our balcony furniture that we now can't use because of said construction. Oh, something horrible happened. If you have been on my Instagram, you will know something horrible happened. Moths have made their way into my life. Rage-inducing. I need tea for this moment. I was happily using my mother's muscle in order to wind some skeins. I am a little weakling. I really struggle with winding up skeins because I have no muscle, and my mum, she's got them. So I asked her to wind up a bunch of my skeins and we were doing very well. She did about 8 or so, maybe 10. And then she said, I'll do one more. And I picked up the yarn and I took it out and they untwirled it from being a skein. And then I saw this, like, it wasn't a moth and it wasn't quite larva, but it was something. And I just like thought, ooh, that's not good. And then my mum looked and went, oh, I've never actually seen a moth, but that doesn't look good. And then we thought, no, we're just being paranoid. I picked it off, went to find the end of the skein. My mum went to find the end of the skein and we came across 2 separate pieces of yarn. And then we pulled at the other thread and that separated. And so we put it on the Swift and we went to wind it and it just disintegrated into multiple pieces of short thread. So that was doom, all doom and gloom, and oh yeah, that was not fun. So I froze that skein because I'm hoping I don't know if there's any part of it that hasn't been eaten, but I can at least use it to stuff something, like stuff a toy. But once I've frozen the bejesus out of it so there are no more eggs. But ironically, it was sitting on top of a cedar block, which is supposed to be anti-moth. But I don't know if I purchased it like that and then, because I freeze everything when I buy it, I take it home, put it in the freezer and then put it in my stash. I don't know if it was damaged originally and then it's just been sitting there with the damage, or if damage is new. I froze everything last year. I think it was last year. And I haven't found anything else damaged yet, but I haven't wound up every skein. So I don't know, but everything is going in the freezer. Problem is that I don't use plastic, so I didn't have any plastic sandwich bags to put anything in the freezer. I don't use plastic, so I wanted to buy some, but it was Friday and it was Women's Day, which is a bank holiday here in Berlin, so all the shops were shut. So I had to wait until Saturday to go get some sandwich bags. Then I put what I could into the sandwich bags and froze what would fit in my freezer. Now everything is everywhere, which is why this looks different, because that is fabric and this is all cotton and linen yarn. So everything has to go through the freezer because I don't want anything to be eaten. So the fear is real, knowing that all of my precious yarn babies could be in danger is horrible. And it came at a horrible time because on my birthday I got laid off from my job, and it was like, oh, it's fine, at least I have my yarn, I've got my knitting, and I can knit and I can still do my YouTube, like it's fine. And then I found moths in my yarn stash. It was like, it was horrible. So please cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross everything. Pray to the knitting gods that it's just the one skein that's affected. Please. Okay, shall we get to some knitting? Let us talk about some knitting. Okay. Obviously there are no finished objects. Last time, you got 2 finished jumpers, so I'm not that speedy. We don't have any more, but thank you, by the way, for all your lovely comments about my bow jumper. I don't know what happened, but apparently I did some miraculous calculations to make that one fit really nicely, and you all agree. I've never had so many nice comments about the fit of my jumper before, which now makes me slightly nervous that all of the other ones don't fit very well. But you are right, it did fit very nicely. Apparently navy blue is my colour. Don't know how I feel about that, because I actually prefer other colours, but I do understand that the blue does suit. Anywho, let's get back to trying to get to the knitting. I'm now super paranoid that everything will be covered in moths, but I have been working away on this stripy tee for, I don't know, a month now. It's all entangled. Originally I wanted this to be a different pattern, but I misread the pattern, so I'm now making it up, basically making a tube that is square at the top, and then I would just seam the very tops together and it'll be like a boat neck tee. It is very weird to look at when it's not constructed together. I have done the front, and my mother, bless her socks, my mother knitted me the welt. It looks minuscule, I agree, it does look very tiny, but it is stretchy. So all is well. This welt is knitted on 2.25mm needles, and it was 4 inches or 10 centimeters, and it took her about 5 nights, I think, or 4 nights. She didn't sit religiously all day knitting, but a good amount of time that she spent knitting this welt. So thank you, Mother. Which then gave me the motivation to continue knitting, because it was getting very tedious. It takes me 1 hour to knit 2 stripes, and that's flat. And that's a lot of stripes. So it was I was losing motivation because it just looked like I was never going to finish this. But because she did the welt, I then saw it is actually starting to look like a garment. So I've done the front piece, believe it or not. This is done. It's got some sleeve action, which will go here. And then seamed there. I will bind off here and seam here. I've started back. I've left it on a cable just in case it's not long enough. It should be long enough, just in case. So it's starting to resemble a garment. It's knitted in woolly knit, which isn't my favourite yarn to knit with, but I have high hopes that it will block out nicely and will be nice for summer evenings, cooler summer days, spring, autumn. High hopes that it will be nice. It's knitted single strand, it's very, very thin, and I'm knitting flat, so it's taking forever, but I'm sure it will be worth it. It will, won't it? It will be worth it. So that is my work in progress. No pattern, just making it up. My mum also knitted me another welt, and she was very grateful for this yarn because this is the Knitter's Cottage yarn. She is on Instagram, her name is Vicky, and she has lovely, lovely, lovely sheep, and she got her wool fleece turned into wool, spun up into wool to sell, and I purchased it a couple of years ago, and we have a welt. Thanks, Mum! The title of this video really should just be Thank You, Mother. Apparently, this is very, very, very nice to knit with, so I am looking forward to this. I'm incredibly nervous that I won't have enough, and it's not possible to buy any more because it was a once off, and if she gets any more fleece spun, it won't be the same weight. But we have a welt, and I'm going to make it short sleeved and really, 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 really hope that I have enough wool to finish the jumper. But yeah, there you go. There's nothing else to show. This is going to be the Bestway Flower Fair Isle jumper that I have talked about a lot. We have a start on it. Now, because my mum, let's get closer to you, because my mum was knitting on the jumper and I already finished my other two jumpers, I didn't have anything to knit. So I cast on a sock. Yes, me, a sock. It's been a while. I have been telling you I want to knit socks for ages, but the motivation to actually do it is always lacking. But I did, and I cast on, and it is so stinking cute. I had to block it. It's not finished. It's just the cuff and leg. I had to block it just to make sure that this gauge, the technique I was trying out was working, because it looked awful. But going by my blocking, it seems it's fine. Are you ready? Aww. Let's get my face out of it. Doesn't want to get my face out of it. I don't know if that's focusing, but these are so cute. These are the breakfast sock set. Socks in the egg, obviously. And there's an avocado one as well. And I say I want to make that, but why is it that the only sock patterns I ever seem to like are 3 colours in a row? It's like torture to myself. I just constantly think, I'm going to make this on small circumference on tiny needles with 3 colors. Genius. And that is exactly what I have done again. So I'm currently in a bit of a predicament because this pattern is so cute, but the color work goes all the way down. I'm ready to put the heel in now. And they look amazing as full colorwork socks. But the pleasure to knit 3 colors in a row on socks is just not there. I don't mind it there are a couple of rows here and here that are just the 2 colors and it's fine, but I can't tell if, basically I'm trying to make a decision on whether I just do a slip stitch, like heel and gusset heel, knit the rest of the foot in blue, but use the pattern for the, let's put it here, there's a chicken sock, or a hen sock, I'm not sure, that Stone Knits has, and it has a fried egg toe, and it's really cute, and I really want to make them. But do I do this blue and do this, it's got like a, kind of like a lace, but not a lace, like a slight textured foot, and then a fried egg toe? Or do I just suck it up and knit the colourwork on the foot? I don't know. I did cast on the second sock already because I have a very bad tendency towards second sock syndrome. So I've already cast on this part, I've done the increases, and I'm ready to start the colourwork. So this one is just left aside for inspiration. And then when I have done the second sock and it looks like this, I will make my decision, because this sock will obviously have a different heel. It won't have a heel and gusset because that would affect the colourwork. So I have to make a decision. What do you think? Do you think I should do 3 colours in a row on both of the socks and all the way to the toe, or do I do the textured foot in blue and the fried egg toe? The yarn is Arvetta Classic, is it? Oh gosh, it's the sock yarn that I always use. I'm going to say Filcolana Arvetta. And the blue one is a one-of-a-kind from Keats Garn. She's here in Berlin, and she used to, I think she still does. If she makes some yarn and it's either a test run of a yarn or her normal colorways didn't come out right, or whatever reason, it's not a main color that she sells these wonder bags, and you can buy them and you get mystery skeins, and this was one of them. And I bought this for myself in 2021 or 2022, don't know. I was given €50 as a present, and so I used that and bought it and then saved the bag until it was Christmas or my birthday and opened it then. It's such a cool colour, and I blocked it also to make sure it wouldn't run into the white of the egg. And I did do cold water, but at least with cold water it's fine. I have 11 minutes left on my SD card, so I better speed up. I'm trying out this new technique where it's magic loop, but I tend to get really awful ladders when I'm changing between colours, and especially with 3. And I'm not 100% sure that it's great, but it doesn't look bad. Focus on this. You basically magic loop, and then when you've got to the end of your needle, you pinch the cord until you've got about 3 of the stitches on there, and then bring it forward and then continue to knit, and then you don't actually have that gap that you're bringing the yarns over, which can cause tension issues and ladder. And also if I've got 3 colours, I have to pinch it out somewhere else, not always 3 stitches, maybe 4 or 5 or 6, so that the yarns just continue going round and they don't have to jump that gap, which is where I tend to get tension issues. I have a couple of sleeves that all the way up, there's a really thick seam because I pulled the yarn too tightly because I was agitated or stressed or whatever the issue. And then other jumpers that I have sleeves that have a ladder because I was just like, oh, I'm knitting, isn't it lovely? And then the tension was off. So in terms of that, this is working really well. I linked that YouTube in my last video because I remember mentioning it because a friend of mine sent me the link because she saw that I was having these sleeve issues. So thank you. And so it's working really well in terms of that. I think just in general, the tension is just a bit off. Maybe because I'm just not used to that technique, but also changing between 3 yarns. I have to take a break because I've run out of SD space and run out of voice. I will be back. Well, hello. Did you miss me? I just wanted to show you something rather fun. So yes, this is the sock number 2 and it has my little crumpet. So cute. I can't pronounce the name of the store, but it's something like Zus Sosketrena. It's a Danish company. They just opened up a store nearby and they were selling, oh, I can show you the label. No, I can't. It won't focus. Focus. Zustrena Grenes. Danish. Anyway, they were selling this twine in the gardening section on this wooden thing. And I thought, that can go. Use that somewhere else. I could put my yarn on it so that it doesn't fall on the floor. I don't like pulling from the inside. It drives me mad because it will just... Exactly that. I like pulling from the outside, but it does sometimes roll around and fall on the floor, and then it gets stuck under the wheels of this chair, and then depending how lazy I am, I'm like, oh, it's fine, and then it just annoys me. So I thought that was fun. So it would be a lot more fun if this part rotated and it was, you know, actually for its life's purpose, but it still works really well and I like it, so I thought I'd show you that. Look at that cover. Oh, yes. Okay, I think, despite talking for about an hour, that's all the knitting I have to talk about. I haven't been knitting a lot because I got a lot of hand pain just before my mum came, and then I figured I'd use that time to rest. So she did all my knitting for the welts, and I cast on the heel of that one, the slipper, and I made like that much progress on the ribbing of my sock, and then the last couple of days I have been knitting. And yeah, that's all I have to show you. The other day I went for a walk with my husband and the universe blessed me. After giving me moths and losing my job, I was very unhappy. But I was delighted to find somebody was getting rid of some of their stuff. And you know me, I love a street find and I love China. And it's so beautiful. And it came with a matching like side plate, tea plate. Oh my god, is it beautiful. So I got this one and another one. I'll put some footage. It made me so happy. I love tea. I love making tea. I love buying tea. I love drinking tea. I love the whole process of getting the kettle at the right temperature, choosing the tea, and then looking at the teacup, and it's so beautiful. So yes, there are still some lovely things happening in life. I won't bang on about it too much, but just briefly mention, now that I don't have my income, it was very small, it was a very small income, but it was still nice to have a little bit. I think I will try to put a little bit more focus into YouTube. The thing is, I don't want to strangle the joy out of it. I don't want it to become like, I have to make this for YouTube. I have to make sure I upload on this day, otherwise the end of the world. I still want to enjoy it, and obviously it's crafting, it's fun, and I don't need to mass produce stuff for financial gains, but it would be nice to use my time to do a little bit more, maybe try and get a little bit more, what's the word? Scheduled? I don't know. But a couple of you have given me some nice ideas. I mentioned earlier a Discord group, and someone else mentioned to do a knit night. So if any of you want to do these things or have any other ideas, let me know and I'll see what I can do. I want to get a bit more of a community going, because I know there are a lot of you that are very into vintage knitting and crafting. It doesn't have to be vintage. I know a lot of you are not here for the vintage, but if basically, hello, basically if there's anything that you would want to see more of, let me know and I will see what I can do, because I now have some more time. It's a bit difficult for me. A lot of people very lovingly say to me, oh, you can easily get work in ABC, but Germany is very, very much into university degrees. Whether or not it's in the field you're applying for is irrelevant. I didn't study at university. I went immediately into traveling, and I moved to Ireland and Australia and New Zealand. I did actually get into university to study archaeology and classical civilizations, but I didn't go. I love history. I still love all of this stuff. I just didn't want to study. I wanted to travel. And I don't regret it, but it does mean that Germany thinks I am the equivalent of somebody that went to high school and has no education. Every job I've ever had is irrelevant here, because they have a very different system here, where you go to school, you study for the thing that you want to do, you go into essentially, what is my fringe doing? Essentially internships for the thing, and then do the thing. I worked in shops, but if you want to work in shops here, you have to go through the Ausbildung and like internship to do it. It's not like a casual job that you do. I don't speak German. That's a lie. I am learning German. It is not something that comes naturally to me at all, and I'm working hard to try and learn it, but I've realized something, and this is my problem. I've tried all the things, and it drives me up the wall when people say, do this, do this, do this. I know that everyone means well, but your experience is going to be different to my experience, and people often don't have the understanding that it doesn't always work the same way for other people as it does for them or for other people. I have watched movies. I watch all the movies, all the TV series. I listened to audiobooks. I read books. I tried to read adult books and children's books. Went to German classes. Tried to speak German with and listen to other people speak German. I've done Duolingo. I've done Babbel. I've done courses in person, and I struggle with German. It does not sit in my head. Like, one new word goes in, one goes out, basically. And I think it's a very logical system, language. And a lot of people I know that are very good at it have this ability to visualize in their heads like boxes, or they visualize things. So that is this, I don't know, let's say everything that is male in gender is red. So they imagine a red tree, a red table, or they'll think, okay, this box, and they imagine themselves putting things into boxes. I've discovered I don't have this internal vision. It's very hard to explain it, but I did mention this to a friend and she gave it a name. Basically, if you say an orange, I cannot picture an orange. I can't close my eyes and picture an orange. I don't. I have like an orange watercolor blur, but no actual clear image of an orange. So I can't visualize things. So when someone would say, imagine all the trees are red, like I can't see a tree in order to imagine it red. I can't see a box to put it in the box. My husband does that. He has a literal filing cabinet in his brain and he slots things into the filing cabinet, and then when he wants it, he opens up the cabinet and takes it out. This concept is beyond me. He also speaks 3 languages, so obviously it works for him. I struggle with that. And so the logic of a German language, when you have to remember that the verb you would use in English is at the front, you have to remember to add it to the end. I don't know where to store the memory that I need to use the verb in order to remember to put it at the end. Don't know if this makes sense, but it's just, I've hit the stage of anger and I don't know how to pass it, and then I get angry at the fact that I'm angry and I can't pass it. I know that the anger will not help me. I know all of the reasons why I need to learn. I need to do this, I need to do that. It's all very logical and it makes sense. But then I pick up a German book or I do something in German and I am so angry and I feel so dumb, and it completely colours everything in red and I can't progress. So then I have to take a break, then I try and come back to it and the cycle begins. And I haven't figured out a way to not be angry. When someone says, oh, you just need practice, I'm angry. All I do is practice and then it just doesn't stick. So the sweats are real. I am very passionately raged right now about my inability. I'm not very good at not being good at something. I like seeing progress. I like knowing that something is happening and in a positive way. And German is not that. German's like crochet to me. I tried so hard and it never really worked. But basically, gosh, if you're still here, thanks. Thank you. Yes, I don't want to sound like I'm moaning and ranting, so I think I will just stop talking. Thank you very much for being here. I'm distracted. Thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time. Bye!
Day to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Anne, happy birthday to you.